Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Monday, July 16th, 2018. A lot to do on today's podcast. We'll get into the FIFA World Cup final, the baseball action from yesterday, Summer League action from yesterday, get into a little bit of the Futures game from yesterday, my weekly power rankings, players of the week, my NFL ReDraft from 2010, and I'm going to close the podcast by giving you my pick for the Home Run Derby, which is tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Yesterday was the World Cup final. France is your winner, 4-2 over Croatia. This was a fun game. France got on the board first on an own goal in the 18th minute by Mario Mandzukic, 1-0 France. Croatia ties it up at 1 apiece on a goal by Ivan Presic in the 28th minute. In the 38th minute, on the penalty kick, France takes a 2-1 lead by Antoine Griezmann. 59th minute, Paul Pogba. In the 59th minute, 3-1 France. Kylian Mbappe in the 65th minute, 4-1 France. Croatia gets, let's be real, a garbage goal in the 69th minute by Mario Mandzukic to make it respectable at 4-2. France wins. Your tournament most outstanding player was Luka Modric of Croatia, and he was the MVP of the tournament, helped Croatia make it to the final, although they ultimately lost to France. And that was the FIFA World Cup. That was a fun tournament. You can make a case that the FIFA World Cup was more fun than both the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs, because there was a lot of close calls, a lot of sudden death, even some penalty kicks at the end to decide some of the knockout round games. It was a very, very fun tournament. A lot of surprise teams, a lot of big-name teams and players upset early. And this is one of the best FIFA tournaments I can remember in a while. Baseball from yesterday, I'm going to go over the results real quick. The Red Sox defeated the Blue Jays 5-2 as they improved to 68-30. Toronto drops to 43-52. Brandon Workman improves to 2-0. Marcus Stroman drops to 2-7. Craig Kimbrell gets his 30th save of the season. I'm just going to do scores, not going to go through the scoring because I have other things planned on this podcast that may take a while. The Orioles defeated the Rangers 6-5 as they improved to 28-69. The Rangers dropped to 41-56. Tanner Scott improves to 1-1. Mike Minor drops to 6-6. Zach Britton gets his 4th save of the season. The Nationals defeated the Mets 6-1 as they improved to 48-48. The Mets dropped to 39-55. Jeremy Hellickson improves to 4-1. Anthony Swarzak drops to 0-2. The Indians defeated the Yankees 5-2 as they improved to 52-43. The Yankees dropped to 62-33. I had the Indians on the podcast yesterday as the TBS games, and I was correct. Carlos Carrasco with the win improves to 11-5. Terry Francona to me was desperate, and they thought that they wanted and needed to win this game against the Yankees instead of looking bad and losing 3 out of 4 to the Yankees and losing 2 out of 3 to the Reds to close out the last week before the All-Star break. But give T-Dot credit for pushing the right buttons. Chad Green gets tagged with the loss, drops to 5-2. Cody Allen gets his 20th save of the season. The Marlins defeated the Phillies 10-5 as they improved to 41-57. Philly drops to 53-42. Alicia Hernandez improves to 2-5. Abdubray Ramos drops to 3-1. The Braves defeated the Diamondbacks 5-1 to avoid the sweep as they improved to 52-42. Arizona drops to 53-44. Julio Teheran improves to 7-6. Patrick Corbin drops to 6-4. The Pirates defeated the Brewers 7-6 in 10 innings to complete the sweep. Walk-off double by Josh Bell won the game. Pittsburgh improves to 48-49. Milwaukee drops to 55-43. Tanner Anderson improves to 1-0. Dan Jennings drops to 3-3. The White Sox defeated the Royals 10-1 as they improved to 33-62. The Royals dropped to 27-68. Lucas Giolito improves to 6-8. Birch Smith drops to 0-1. The Twins defeated the Rays 11-7 in 10 innings thanks to a walk-off grand slam by Brian Dozier. Minnesota improves to 44-50. Tampa Bay drops to 49-47. Alan Busenitz improves to 3-0. Matt Andriese drops to 2-4. The Tigers defeated the Astros 6-3 as they improve to 41-57. Houston drops to 64-35. Drew Verhagen improves to 1-2. Justin Verlander drops to 9-5. The Cardinals defeated the Reds 6-4 as they improve to 48-46. First win under new intern manager Mike Schilt. Cincinnati drops to 43-53. John Gant improves to 3-3. Anthony DeSclafani drops to 4-2. Jordan Hicks gets his second save of the season. The Rockies defeated the Mariners 4-3 as they improve to 51-45 to complete the sweep of the Mariners, who dropped to 58-39. Scott Oberg improves to 4-0. Nick Vincent drops to 3-2. The Dodgers defeated the Angels 5-3 as they improved to 53-43. The Angels dropped to 49-48. Kenta Maeda improves to 7-5. Taylor Cole drops to 0-2. Kenley Jansen gets his 27th save of the year. Maeda is a similar case to Carlos Carrasco in the sense of getting bullpen work done, but I think Terry Francona was desperate. To me, Dave Roberts just gave Kenta Maeda an extra day of work because of the All-Star break ahead. And you can make a case that's the same with Carrasco, but to me that was more desperate rather than work before the All-Star break in Carrasco and Terry Francona's case for Cleveland. The Athletics defeated the Giants 6-2 as they improved to 55-42. San Francisco drops to 50-48. Sean Manaea improves to 9-6. Andrew Suarez drops to 3-6. The Cubs defeated the Padres 7-4 to complete the sweep. They improved to 55-38. San Diego drops to 40-59. John Lester improves to 12-2. Eric Lauer drops to 5-6. Brandon Morrow gets his 22nd save of the season. Now I'm going to do my power rankings of the week. 30-1 as I do every week. I'll go over how every team did this week. Go over what's ahead this weekend. And talk about the theme of the week. It's the most untradeable player on their roster. But in the sense of these names have been mentioned in some trade talks, but they shouldn't trade these guys. Number 30 is the Kansas City Royals, sit in last place in the AL Central at 27-68. They had another losing week. Lost 2 out of 3 in Minnesota against the Twins. Lost 2 out of 3 in Chicago against the White Sox. And after the All-Star break, they resume at home against the Minnesota Twins. Salvador Perez is the Royals All-Star representative, and he's also somebody, if I'm Kansas City, I don't trade right now. Only because his trade value isn't high right now. He's not having a good season. And honestly, he shouldn't even be the Royal at the All-Star game. The only reason why he's there is because Gary Sanchez is on the disabled list for the New York Yankees. And he himself isn't having a great season either. So Salvador Perez is somebody the Royals should keep around and explore trades in the offseason when his value can be higher, or even next year's trade deadline because he's signed beyond the season. Number 29 is the Baltimore Orioles, who sit in last place in the American League East at 28-69. They actually had a decent week. They got a split against the Yankees at home, then followed that up by winning 2 out of 3 at home against the Texas Rangers. They could have been swept by the Yankees, but give them credit. They battled. Manny Machado pretty much won those 2 games on his own with his bat. And then the Rangers series, they pitched pretty well. Zach Britton looked pretty good. And the next thing for the Orioles is to trade Manny Machado, whether that's during this All-Star break, which is increasingly likely by reports I'm seeing, or wait it out until the trade deadline. Kevin Gossman and Dylan Bundy are two young starters that I've heard mentioned in the trade mill when it comes to the Yankees' interest in Manny Machado, because there are reports that the Yankees are interested in one of them and putting them in a Machado package to increase the Yankees' offer. But if I'm Baltimore, I keep these guys for now. They have not had good seasons. None of them are all-stars. So I keep them around. If any of them have good second halves, then maybe you can shop them in the offseason. And after the All-Star break, the Orioles head to Rogers Center to take on the Blue Jays for 3. Number 28 is the Chicago White Sox, who sit in 4th place in the AL Central at 33-62. They split with the Cardinals at home. They won 2 out of 3 against the Royals at home. After the break, they head to the West Coast to take on the Seattle Mariners for 3. Avisail Garcia is talked about in trade rumors, but I'd hold on to him for now. He was injured for a lot of the season, and you could trade him in the offseason when his value could be higher. Number 27 is the Texas Rangers, who sit in last place in the American League West at 41-56. They got swept at Fenway against the Red Sox and lost 2 out of 3 in Baltimore against the Orioles. After the All-Star break, they host the Cleveland Indians for 3. Rougned Odor and Joey Gallo are two guys that, if I'm the Texas Rangers, I don't trade. These names haven't been mentioned in trade rumors yet, but it won't surprise me if these names pop up, because I think Texas is looking to rebuild a little bit. But if I'm Texas, I keep these guys. Rougned Odor hasn't really had that great of play since 2016, but I like his upside. He's still young. Joey Gallo is just a power-hitting machine. Although he is not a good hitter whatsoever, I'd keep him around too for now. Number 26 is the San Diego Padres, who sit in last place in the NL West at 40-59. They lost 3 out of 4 at home to the Dodgers and got swept by the Cubs all at home. And after the All-Star break, they head east to Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. The Padres have been mentioned as a surprise buyer for some of the big-name pitchers on the market, potentially like a Jacob deGrom or Noah Syndergaard. And I even saw them as a dark horse for Manny Machado, which I don't see whatsoever. If you're going to go out and try to improve your rotation, to go out and get Noah Syndergaard or Jacob deGrom for long-term purposes, you don't give up Fernando Tatis Jr., who is untouchable, and the White Sox definitely regret trading him away for James Shields now, because he's going to be a better player than Tim Anderson down the road. The White Sox made a mistake there, and the Padres better not make the same mistake with Fernando Tatis Jr., and they won't, because I believe in the Padres. Number 25 is the Detroit Tigers, who sit in 3rd place in the AL Central at 41-57. They got swept by the Rays in Tampa Bay, and then they lost 2 out of 3 in Houston against the Astros. They begin hosting the Boston Red Sox after the All-Star break. Michael Fulmer, someone who the Detroit Tigers should not trade at this year's deadline. He's not having a good season. And I don't see a team like the Yankees or Milwaukee overpaying to get Michael Fulmer. So if I'm Detroit, you wait until the offseason, where his value could be higher, and you may have more suitors, like a team like the San Diego Padres, who I think will make a win-now move next winter. Number 24 is the New York Mets, who sit in last place in a tie in the NL East at 39-55. They began the week with a 4-game split with the Phillies, with Monday's games in the doubleheader. Then they split with the Nationals over the weekend. They begin their post-All-Star break stretch in the Bronx against the Yankees. Michael Conforto is somebody that the New York Mets should not trade. He's not had a good season at all. I've heard his name linked in trade rumors a little bit. If I'm New York, you don't trade Michael Conforto. I still believe in this kid. I think he still has star potential. Number 23 is the Miami Marlins, who sit in the last place tie in the NL East at 41-57. They actually have played good baseball of late. They won 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. Then they won 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. They're at Tampa Bay after the All-Star break. Jose Urena is a young pitcher who the Marlins should not trade. I have not heard his name in trade rumors, but it won't surprise me if his name pops up eventually. The Marlins want to get rid of everybody pretty much, but Jose Urena is not a bad pitcher. He's better than his ERA would suggest. And if I'm Miami, I keep him around just for the end of the season, maybe even a little bit in the next season. Maybe he improves and you found yourself something with Urena. Number 22 is the Toronto Blue Jays, who sit in 4th place in the American League East at 43-52. They split a 2-game set with the Braves in Atlanta. Then they followed that up by losing 2 out of 3 in Fenway against the Red Sox. They opened play at home against the Baltimore Orioles after the break. Marcus Stroman is somebody who's been mentioned in trade rumors. I wouldn't trade him. He's not having a good season. This is the same case for Michael Fulmer. Maybe he has a good second half and you cash it in the offseason. Or you cash in potentially next season if you're not good. But maybe there's the argument of keeping Marcus Stroman, even though you're going to lose Josh Donaldson this winter. You have 2 stud prospects coming up in Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr., and maybe the Blue Jays will be competitive sooner than folks think due to those 2 guys. And if you keep Stroman and Stroman turns back into the guy that you think he's going to be, then you may be a contender as soon as 2019, maybe 2020 more realistically. Number 21 is the Minnesota Twins, who sit in 2nd place in the American League Central at 44-50. They began the week winning 2 out of 3 at home against the Kansas City Royals. Then they won 3 out of 4 at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. Then they go to Kansas City to begin play after the All-Star break over the weekend. Byron Buxton is currently in AAA. He's somebody that Minnesota should not give up on. He had a great second half last year. He has a lot of franchise player potential. But the case for trading him is that you trade him while his values could potentially be at its peak. But to me, he's just been hurt a lot and somebody that I think can regain some value in the league. Number 20 is the Cincinnati Reds, who sit in last place in the National League Central at 43-53. This is the best last place team in baseball. There was a point where I thought it was the Padres, and there was another point where I thought it was the Rangers, but it's clearly the Cincinnati Reds, who have been baseball's most improved team since intern manager Jim Riggleman took over. They had a really good week yet again, won 2 out of 3 in Cleveland against the Indians and won 2 out of 3 in St. Louis against the Cardinals. Give them credit, they got Mike Matheny fired. But that said, that's the Cardinals' play the last couple years that got Mike Matheny fired, but the Reds certainly had something to do with it. The Reds open play at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates after the All-Star break. Scooter Gennett has been mentioned in trade rumors. If I'm Cincinnati, I keep him and extend him. They are going to be a contender sooner than people expect due to guys like Gennett and guys like Scott Schebler and Eugenio Suarez, who have all improved this season. Joey Votto still in his prime. They have young pitching on the way. This is going to be a contender sooner than people think. But if I'm Cincinnati, I keep Scooter Gennett, unless if somebody sends you a Godfather offer. Like if it was, let's just say the Dodgers and they gave you Walker Buehler, or they gave you something of that type of value. But if I'm Cincinnati, I keep and extend Scooter Gennett. He is a very, very good player. Number 19 is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who sit in 4th place in the NL Central at 48-39. They have played great baseball of late. They won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, then swept the Milwaukee Brewers in a 5-game set, with Saturday being a doubleheader. They're currently winners of 6 straight games. They're only 1 game under 500. They open play at Cincinnati after the All-Star break. This Pittsburgh Pirates team may not be a seller after all, but if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm a seller because you have some assets that would help some other teams. I do think Pittsburgh will eventually fall off a little bit and become a seller. But that's somebody that could be a surprise buyer potentially. As can be saying the same for the Cincinnati Reds, although I doubt that too. I have heard that the Pirates are open for business, and if there's a guy you don't trade, it's Josh Bell, somebody who I think could be a star someday, has not really lived up to potential, but I do think he's worth keeping right now. Number 18 is the St. Louis Cardinals, who sit in third place in the NL Central at 48-46. They had a rough week. They fired Mike Matheny on Saturday night. Talked about it a little bit just before, and on yesterday's podcast, obviously. They split with the White Sox in Chicago, and they lost 2 out of 3 at home against the Cincinnati Reds, with the win coming yesterday afternoon. Then the Cardinals take on the Chicago Cubs in a rare 5-game set, just like Milwaukee and Pittsburgh the other day. They have a doubleheader on Saturday, with the night game being on Fox, and Thursday night's game is the lone game on the schedule on Thursday in the sport, and it's on ESPN exclusively. 2 guys you don't trade if you're St. Louis are Tyler O'Neill and Alex Reyes. I think the Cardinals will be a buyer, although there's some talk that they may be a seller if things go bad within the next 15 days. And I just don't see the Cardinals being a seller. I think they'll play for their intern manager and will end up being a buyer. And if I'm St. Louis, you don't trade Tyler O'Neill or Alex Reyes. Yes, Alex Reyes is hurt, but that guy is going to be a stud in your rotation for years to come, assuming he doesn't get hurt again. And Tyler O'Neill could be a difference-making player. There's a reason why they traded Stephen Piscotty away, and it's because of the presence of O'Neill and how they feel about him. Number 17 is the Washington Nationals, who sit in third place in the National League East at 48-48. They had another rough week. They lost 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. Then they split with the Mets at Citi Field. They open All-Star break or post-All-Star break play at home against the Atlanta Braves. Victor Robles and Juan Soto are 2 guys that they're better not trade. You might lose Bryce Harper in free agency, so you got to keep these guys around long term. And these 2 guys have star potential, as Soto has shown this season. He's the favorite for National League Rookie of the Year right now. Number 16 is the Los Angeles Angels, who sit in 4th place in the American League West at 49-48. They didn't have a bad week. They won 2 out of 3 at home against the Mariners. Then they wound up losing 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. And they host the Houston Astros coming out of the All-Star break, so that's interesting. A guy that LA shouldn't trade, whether they buy or sell, is Cole Calhoun. Yes, he was sent down to AAA earlier in the year because he was struggling so much. Since he's come back, he's been pretty good. I keep Cole Calhoun around, and you want to improve his trade value rather than trade him when his value is still pretty low. Number 15 is the Tampa Bay Rays, who sit in 3rd place in the American League East at 49-47. They close out their first half of the season by sweeping the Tigers at home, then losing 3 out of 4 in Minnesota against the Twins. They open play up at home against the Miami Marlins. If I'm Tampa Bay, I know you're going to be a seller, but don't trade Blake Snell. I think the Rays can be better next year and in long term quicker than folks think. Their farm system is loaded. They have guys have already come up like Willie Adames and Jake Bowers. They have more coming in Jesus Sanchez and Brendan McKay down the road. And they have some young pitchers that are injured right now and will make an impact next season potentially. So that's why you keep Blake Snell rather than trade Blake Snell. Number 14 is the San Francisco Giants, who sit in 4th place in the NL West at 50-48. They won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs at home. Then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. And then they take on the Athletics again this weekend for 3. Heliot Ramos is the Giants' top prospect. The Giants are probably going to be a buyer if they stick in the race. If not, they can pivot to sell and possibly trade the likes of Madison Bumgarner and Brandon Belt. But Heliot Ramos is somebody that they should not trade. He has franchise player potential. He's a fast riser in their system. And somebody that they can build around for the foreseeable future once they enter a rebuild, potentially. Number 13 is the Colorado Rockies, who sit in 3rd place in the NL West at 51-45. They have been playing great lately. They won 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks at home, then swept the Mariners at home. Then they go to Arizona to take on the Diamondbacks for 3 after the All-Star break. Brendan Rodgers is somebody the Rockies shouldn't trade. He is the second baseman of the future. DJ LeMahieu is in a contract year. Number 12 is the Milwaukee Brewers, who sit in 2nd place in the NL Central at 55-43. They have not been playing good baseball lately. They lost 2 out of 3 in Miami against the Marlins and lost 5 against Pittsburgh. They're on a 6-game losing streak right now, and it doesn't get any easier for them as the Los Angeles Dodgers come to town for 3 over the weekend. Keston Hiura is somebody that Milwaukee should not trade. He's a fast riser in their system. He was only drafted last year, and he's already raking in AA. He might be even in AAA by now, but he's somebody that they shouldn't trade, although I won't be surprised if he is traded so Milwaukee can go out and get a massive upgrade for their team. Number 11 is the Atlanta Braves, who sit in 2nd place in the National League East at 52-42. They have not played great of late either. They split with the Blue Jays at home in a 2-game set, then lost 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks at home over the weekend. Then they take on the Nationals in D.C. over the weekend. Kyle Wright could be a future ace. He's somebody I wouldn't trade to improve your roster. Number 10 is the Philadelphia Phillies, who sit in 1st place in the National League East at 53-42. They had a mediocre week. They split with the Mets in a 4-game set at Citi Field. Then they won a makeup game in Baltimore against the Orioles. Then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. The San Diego Padres come to town for 3 after the All-Star break. Sixto Sanchez is somebody I would not trade away to improve your roster. He has ace potential down the road. Number 9 is the Cleveland Indians, who sit in 1st place in the AL Central at 52-43. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Reds at home, then got a series split against the Yankees at home. Then they travel to Arlington after the All-Star break to take on the Rangers over the weekend. Tristan McKenzie is a prospect I wouldn't trade away in any trade for Cleveland. He could be in their rotation possibly as soon as next season. He has ace potential, and at worst he's going to be a number 2 or number 3 starter. Number 8 is the Arizona Diamondbacks, who sit in 2nd place in the National League West at 53-44. They've been playing a little mediocre of late. They lost 2 out of 3 in Colorado against the Rockies. Then they won 2 out of 3 in Atlanta against the Braves. The Rockies come to town after the All-Star break over the weekend. John Duplantier is a young pitching prospect that the Diamondbacks should not trade. His ceiling could be a number 2, number 3 type of starter. But if they want to go out and get a Manny Machado type of player, he would have to be included in the trade. But if I'm Arizona, I try to keep Duplantier. He'd be a key part of your future. Number 7 is the red-hot Oakland Athletics, 55-42 on the year. 3rd place in the AL West. They had another good week. They very impressively won 3 out of 4 against the Astros. Then followed it up by winning 2 out of 3 against the San Francisco Giants. They could have swept Houston if not for the silly error by Jonathan Lucroy in the bottom of the 10th inning, which allowed the Astros to have the walk-off win, or else that would have been potentially a sweep. After the break, they host the San Francisco Giants for 3. Jesus Luzardo is their top prospect, somebody who they should not trade. They got him in the trade last year that sent Sean Doolittle and Ryan Madsen to the Nationals. I think Oakland wins that trade. They end up with Blake Trinan, their closer. They get Luzardo, and they get another prospect in the deal that's a top 10 in their system. And Oakland's in a good position. I think that they could very well be a buyer. But if they do be a buyer, do not trade Jesus Luzardo, who is going to be a stud someday. Number 6 is the Seattle Mariners, who sit in second in the AL West at 58-39. They have been playing mediocre of late as well. They lost 2 out of 3 in LA against the Angels. Then they got swept by the Rockies in Colorado. At least the White Sox come to town after the All-Star break, so it's a little bit of a get-right series for the Mariners. Kyle Lewis is somebody that I would not trade if I'm Seattle if you're looking to upgrade your roster. I think he's a big part of their future. Number 5 is the Los Angeles Dodgers, who sit in first place in the National League West at 53-43. What a turnaround for the Dodgers. They were double digits under 500. Now they're double digits over 500. This is a great turnaround by the Dodgers. One that happened sooner than I expected. I thought this was going to happen all along, but I didn't think it would happen this fast. But give the Dodgers a lot of credit. Dave Roberts has done outstanding. They won 3 out of 4 in San Diego against the Padres. Then they won 2 out of 3 at home against the Angels. Not easy after the break. They're at Milwaukee for 3 against the Brewers. Somebody I would not deal in any trade is Walker Buehler. He recently got sent down to AAA. I think it's because it's the All-Star break, so they want to give him some reps down there. A lot of teams are doing that with some young players. Pittsburgh did that with Austin Meadows. Cleveland did that with Shane Bieber. The Yankees probably should have done it with a couple of their young starters like Domingo Germán. They sent Jonathan Loáisiga down a while ago, but they probably should have done that with Domingo Germán, who has struggled in his last couple starts. But Buehler is somebody that's going to be an ace someday, and I would not trade him in any deal for a Manny Machado type of player if I'm Los Angeles. Number 4 is the Chicago Cubs, who are in first place in the National League Central at 55-38. They're finally playing up to potential. They lost 2 out of 3 in San Francisco against the Giants. They probably should have swept them, but they did sweep the Padres, who are a worser team than the Giants. They have a 5-game set coming out of the All-Star break with a doubleheader on Saturday, beginning Thursday night, against the St. Louis Cardinals at home and their new intern manager. So Thursday, Friday, doubleheader Saturday, and then Sunday. So a busy week ahead for the Cubs with Kyle Schwarber and Javier Baez in the home run derby, a bunch of Cub players in the All-Star game, and then this big series against the Cardinals coming up. The Cubs' top prospect is Adbert Alzolay, and is somebody who the Cubs should not give away in any trade to upgrade their roster. Number 3 is the New York Yankees, who sit in second place in the American League East at 62-33. They didn't have the best of weeks. They split a 4-game set with the Orioles. They had a doubleheader on Monday. Then they split a 4-game set in Cleveland against the Indians. So 4-4 in their last 8. They can take a little bit of a breather. They have nobody going in the home run derby tonight. They have a couple guys in the All-Star game tomorrow. And then they can take a little breather. They're getting Gary Sanchez back on Friday. And they're getting Gleyber Torres back next week at some point. And a little bit of a get-right series for the Yankees as the Mets come to town over the weekend. The Yankees set their rotation up pretty well, I thought. Put your weaker guys against the weaker team, and then they have the Rays after that in Tampa Bay. Don't forget the Yankees got swept in Tampa Bay the last time they were there, so they have their better pitchers going in Tampa Bay against the Rays' very good pitching staff. Somebody the Yankees should not trade away in any trade is Justice Sheffield. That guy is going to be a stud, potentially. At worst, he's going to be a number 2 or number 3 guy. At best, he's going to be a co-ace with Luis Severino. This is the same situation as Tristan McKenzie in Cleveland. Justice Sheffield, someone that is going to be a stud, and I would not trade him if I'm the Yankees. The only way I can see the Yankees doing it is if it's for somebody under team control for a while, like a Madison Bumgarner, even though he's going to be a free agent after 2019. The Yankees could probably re-sign Bumgarner if they were to trade for him. And Jacob deGrom, who won't be a free agent until 2020. So I don't think they would trade Sheffield for Manny Machado or any of the other pitchers on the market unless if Bumgarner or deGrom became available. Although there is a scenario where I can see the Yankees holding on to Sheffield if they traded for Bumgarner or deGrom. Number 2 is the Houston Astros, who sit in first place in the AL West at 64-35. They had a weird week. They lost 3 out of 4 at home against the A's. Then they won 2 out of 3 against the Tigers at home. They traveled to Los Angeles to take on the Angels after the All-Star break. Kyle Tucker is untradeable to me. He's going to be in their outfield in the future, and he's somebody I would not trade to make an upgrade to your roster. Number 1 is the Boston Red Sox, first place in the AL East, best record in baseball, 68-30. They just had a 10-game win streak snapped over the weekend. They swept the Rangers. They won 3 out of 4 against the Blue Jays. The loss actually came Friday night. They got blown out 13-7 by Toronto. The Red Sox have the Tigers in Detroit after the All-Star break. Jason Groom is somebody who is actually hurt right now, recovering from Tommy John surgery. But I would not trade him if I'm the Red Sox. He's their best pitching prospect, and I think he has ace potential. Chris Sale's going to be a free agent after the 2019 season, although the Red Sox will probably re-sign him. But if I'm Boston, you hold on to Jason Groom in any trade, potentially, down the road. And that's it for the Power Rankings. Players of the Week, going to be quick here. Brett Gardner of the Yankees. He's finding his power stroke back, hit a bunch of home runs. He hit 2 on Thursday night, and then he hit another home run in Baltimore during the week. National League, Will Myers of the Padres has been carrying that offense lately, although they haven't been winning games. Summer League, real quick, only 4 games yesterday because they're in the semifinals now. The Lakers defeated the Pistons 101-78. Vislov Milyachuk, 19 in the win. Henry Allenton, 22 in defeat. The Cavs defeated the Raptors 82-68. John Holland, 23 in the win. Chris Boucher, 18 in defeat. The Blazers defeated the Celtics 95-80. John Jenkins, 25 in the win. Trey Davis, 19 in defeat. The Grizzlies defeated the 76ers 82-73. Brandon Goodwin, 21 in the win. And Furkan Korkmaz, 18 in defeat. Semifinals tonight. Cavaliers-Lakers. That's funny because it's LeBron and whatnot, but it's just the Summer League. I just think that's sort of funny that these two teams meet in the Summer League semifinals. And meanwhile, all the media is going to be talking about in that broadcast is LeBron James. And in the 10:30 on ESPN2, you have the Grizzlies and the Trailblazers. If I had to guess who wins the Summer League, I think it's the Grizzlies. I think they have a great duo in Jaren Jackson Jr. and Javon Carter that could potentially lead them the way there. Colin Sexton's been good for the Cavs. Milyachuk and Josh Hart have led the way for the Los Angeles Lakers in Summer League. Moritz Wagner's out for the rest of the Summer League. And the Blazers are somehow still in the mix. Wade Baldwin's been doing a nice job for them at the point guard position for them. The Futures game was yesterday for baseball. They obviously played it at Nationals Park, the site of the All-Star game. USA defeated the World 10-6. The Futures Game MVP was Taylor Trammell of the Cincinnati Reds, who had a great game. Quickly, I'm going to do my NFL redraft from 2010. I'll be very, 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 very quick here. I'm just going to say the team and the player. 1, Rams, Antonio Brown would have been their number 1 receiver. 2, Lions, Trent Williams. 3, Buccaneers, Earl Thomas. 4, Redskins, Maurkice Pouncey. 5, Chiefs, Gerald McCoy. 6, Seahawks, Linval Joseph. 7, Browns, Rob Gronkowski. 8, Raiders, Everson Griffin. 9, Bills, Eric Reed. 10, Jaguars, Ndamukong Suh. 14, 49ers, Navarro Ballman. That's interestingly funny. 12, Chargers, Sean Lee. 13, Eagles, Geno Atkins. 14, Seahawks, Carlos Dunlap. 15, Giants, Cam Chancellor. 16, Titans, Jimmy Graham. 17, 49ers, Des Bryant. Can't believe he's still a free agent, by the way. 18, Steelers, Demaryius Thomas. Not the best consolation prize for Antonio Brown, but a solid one. 19, Atlanta Falcons, Golden Tate. 20, Houston Texans, Joe Hayden. 21, Cincinnati Bengals, Devin McCourty. 22, Denver Broncos, Brian Bulaga. 23, Packers, Mikey Upati. 24, Cowboys, Roger Saffold. 25, Denver Broncos, Russell Okung. 26, Arizona Cardinals, Brandon Graham. 27, New England Patriots, TJ Ward. 28, Miami Dolphins, Morgan Burnett. 29, New York Jets, Rashad Jones. 30, Detroit Lions, Jason Pierre-Paul. 31, Indianapolis Colts, Kareem Jackson. And 32, the New Orleans Saints, Emmanuel Sanders. Now I'm going to make my pick for the Home Run Derby, which is tonight, 8 o'clock, ESPN. You have, on the left side of the bracket, 1 seed Jesus Aguilar against 8 seed Rhys Hoskins. 4 seed Alex Bregman against 5 seed Kyle Schwarber. And on the right side of the bracket, Bryce Harper, number 2 seed against number 7 seed Freddie Freeman. And number 3 seed Max Muncy against 6 seed Javier Baez. I'm going to take Rhys Hoskins over Jesus Aguilar and Kyle Schwarber over Alex Bregman on the left side of the bracket. And Bryce Harper over Freddie Freeman on the right side of the bracket, as well as Javier Baez over Max Muncy. Then I'll go Kyle Schwarber over Rhys Hoskins, and I'll go Javier Baez over Bryce Harper. And in the final, you would have the 2 cups, Kyle Schwarber and Javier Baez, and give me Kyle Schwarber to win the 2018 Home Run Derby. I was going to pick Bryce Harper, but I talked myself into Kyle Schwarber because I wanted to pick somebody different. I'm sure the consensus pick will be Bryce Harper because it's in his hometown of D.C., or I should say his home team. But give me the Cub, who's had a nice bounce-back season after being demoted to AAA last year. Does anybody remember that? I certainly do. But yeah, give me Kyle Schwarber to win the Home Run Derby over his teammate Javier Baez. That's it for today's podcast. I know it was a long one. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the Home Run Derby, talking about some other sports news. I might end up doing my second half Major League Baseball predictions because this Manny Machado trade might come sooner rather than later. And before I go, I'm going to give out my awards real quick for the season so far. American League MVP, JD Martinez. National League MVP, Freddie Freeman. AL Cy Young, Justin Verlander. NL Cy Young, Max Scherzer. AL Rookie of the Year, Gleyber Torres. NL Rookie of the Year, Juan Soto. AL Manager of the Year, Bob Melvin. He deserves credit for keeping his team in contention after many thought that they were a last-place lock in the American League West. And Brian Skinter of the Atlanta Braves for arriving ahead of schedule, although there's a lot of candidates for NL Manager of the Year, but I'm going to go with Brian Skinter. And that's it for today's podcast. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.